Shortly after the wedding, Jason mentioned me casually in conversation. If I couldn't marry the woman I love, I might as well marry someone obedient. So that's why he never touched me. His heart already belonged to another. When pushed to the brink of desperation, I set my sights on the man staying with the Johnson family. A recluse who avoided women. I tempted him to break his vows. 3 months later, I confirmed my pregnancy. Jason went mad. Emily, who dared lay hands on you? Later, as I signed divorce papers and went alone to terminate the pregnancy, not a single doctor in the city would perform the procedure. The man I thought was down on his luck emerged from a luxury car, blocking my path. Emily, you'd reject both me and our child? There's not another woman in this world as heartless as you. After breakfast that morning, Mrs. Johnson summoned us to the study. Emmy, she began coldly. 3 months into this marriage, we should discuss children. Her disdain was palpable. I'd never been her choice for daughter-in-law. The Johnson matriarch had favored my birth chart and temperament, overriding her objections. But conception wasn't my decision alone. Jason refused to touch me, his heart elsewhere. Who'd believe I remained untouched after 3 months of marriage? The Smiths took $100 million dowry. We've clothed and fed you in luxury. Yet your womb stays empty. Her words grew crueler, squirming under the onslaught. I looked imploringly at Jason. He rose lazily, avoiding my gaze. If she can't conceive, try Chinese medicine. His glance finally flickered my way. Why bother me? The problem's her barrenness, not my capability. Let her family scheme solutions. They're experts at underhanded tricks. Abandoned in the study, I endured Mrs. Johnson's fury. 6 months. Emily, no child means divorce. Half the dowry returned, more mercy than you deserve. My throat tightened. Of the $100 million, I'd received only a fraction. The rest had patched the Smith family's financial wounds. No one would help repay $50 million. My own family would discard me like used goods. But why should I comply? The Johnson matriarch arranged this marriage, not me. Jason's emotional unavailability wasn't my failing. The Smiths' business failures predated my existence. Yet all burdens fell on me. Since Mother's death years ago, I'd been homeless in my own family, wandering to the back garden at sunset. The crimson sky mirrored my despair. Tears fell freely. Then a door creaked open in the distant courtyard. The young man dressed in ordinary gray clothes approached me through the deepening twilight. For a moment, I thought I'd encountered one of those spirits from Gothic tales. Until I remembered Daniel Cooper, a distant relative of the Johnson family who'd come from Hong Kong for medical treatment and was temporarily staying in this courtyard house. But I never imagined he'd be this strikingly handsome. The soft, well-worn fabric draped over his tall frame like liquid, accentuating his elegant posture. In the indigo dusk, his slightly gaunt face glowed pale as polished jade. When he extended his hand holding a handkerchief, I noticed his slender fingers resembling delicate ivory pipes and the string of blood-red coral beads around his bony wrist. "Has your condition improved?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. His cool, composed gaze met mine. Tears still trembled on my lashes from earlier crying. My nose flushed red. To my shock, he reached out and gently brushed away a teardrop with his fingertip. "Better now," he replied in accented Mandarin, the distinctive Hong Kong cadence coloring his words. I blinked, then nodded. "That's good. Beijing winters can be harsh for newcomers. Dryness bothers me more. Requires using a humidifier." He inclined his head slightly. "My thanks." Wiping my cheeks, I stood after studying him intently. "It's late. I should go." Daniel remained silent, watching the slender figure disappear into the ink-dark night. The servant's gossip floated through his memory about the Johnson family's new daughter-in-law being the epitome of refined grace, yet disliked by everyone except the terminally ill matriarch. He couldn't reconcile their contempt with the image of her muffled sobs, restrained yet agonized. Years of ingrained gentlemanly upbringing made him question why such a proper young woman warranted such rejection. That night, insomnia gripped me until dawn's approach. When a reckless resolution finally granted me restless sleep. Jason had sneered that I should use my shady tricks to get pregnant. Very well, then I'd play the schemer. My entire savings amounted to 1 million yuan. If offered to that dependent man living on others' charity in exchange for a child, surely mutual benefit would persuade him. As sleep finally claimed me, the memory of Daniel's tender gesture lingered, that fleeting warmth when he'd wiped my tears. Yet during my fourth visit to the courtyard, Daniel stood blocking the entrance. Gaze averted. "It's late. Improper to invite you in." His voice held unfamiliar frost. "Don't come again. Risk of contagion." From the lower steps, I tilted my face upward defiantly. "I'm not leaving." His lips pressed into a thin line, those jade-like fingers remaining stubbornly clasped behind his back, refusing even a glance in my direction. The icy wind cut through my thin coat, leaving me shivering and coughing relentlessly. Yet I stubbornly refused to leave. After several minutes, Daniel finally relented with a glance, stepping aside to let me into the courtyard. His study radiated spring-like warmth, housing calligraphy tools and half-copied Buddhist scriptures on the desk, alongside the compact humidifier I'd gifted him during my last visit. Daniel ignored me, resuming his scripture transcription. Crimson coral beads coiled around his slender wrist, their pious adornment contrasting sharply with understated sensuality. My fingers drifted toward them. He paused but didn't withdraw. "Why were these? Childhood health issues, temple blessing from elders. Do they actually protect you? Peace of mind. As he tried to pull away, I gripped the beads tighter. "Has any other woman touched these?" After silent moments, he shook his head. "No, has any other woman touched you?" Daniel's obsidian eyes widened fractionally before he turned away, the tips of his ears flushing crimson. "No." His voice thickened. Behind his desk stood a traditional daybed for afternoon rests. Now it bore our weight. Daniel in his ash-gray linen house robes, scholar's fingers spanning my waist. My cheeks burned from the heater's intensity, yet Daniel's skin maintained jade-like serenity against mine. My only teenage crush had been a transfer student, quiet, politely distant, with angular features not unlike Daniel's. "They say you're returning to Hong Kong after New Year." "Yes." "Coming back?" "Uncertain. Don't. This place isn't worth it." My gaze locked with his. "Are you fully recovered?" "Mostly. Let me fund your recuperation." My breath mingled with his. "Please." His eyes hardened. When he tried pushing me away, I surged forward, capturing his lips with tearful desperation. "Take my money. Give me a child. Save me." Those sacred beads left rosy imprints across my hips, thighs, and breasts as I wept into his shoulder. My nails scored faint crimson trails down his back, each mark mirroring the prayer bead's hue. Daniel froze, his movements halting as he looked at me with disbelief. "How could this happen? Jason hasn't touched you?" "He's got another woman." His eyes clouded with deepening tenderness. "Emily." "Anyway." I lifted my arms to loop around Daniel's neck again. "I don't love him either. I just want a child." Instead of answering, Daniel kissed me more urgently, the cool beads of his bracelet pressing against my cheek. Tears spilled from the corners of my eyes, dripping onto his wrist. He gently kissed them away. When it ended, I dressed to leave. Daniel walked me to the courtyard gate. Turning back, I smiled. "I'll come tomorrow night. It's my ovulation window this week." Silently, he buttoned my coat with meticulous care before winding my scarf properly. "Watch your step," he murmured, fingertips brushing my collarbone. I visited Daniel 3 times. On the third night, he abruptly announced, "I need to return to Hong Kong early for family matters." "Then I'll wire the payment tonight," I said brightly, forcing nonchalance. "Even if I'm not pregnant, you'll get the full amount." These nights were, I swallowed, pleasant enough. "I don't want your money." His voice tightened. I said nothing, already resolved to transfer the funds regardless. Clean breaks required settled accounts. No loose threads. During Daniel's farewell dinner hosted by the Johnsons, I wore emerald silk qipao with half-up hair. Seated beside Jason, Daniel sat directly across. We exchanged polite greetings, then avoided eye contact. Yet Jason behaved oddly that evening. His gaze kept lingering on me, burning through the Chongsam's high collar. When he ladled chicken soup for me, his whisper scorched my ear, "You're glowing these days, Emmy." His palm settled possessively on my shoulder. I stiffened. The love bite Daniel left still bloomed beneath my hairline. As I nearly bolted from my seat, Daniel's calm voice cut through. "Jason." The hand vanished instantly. "Yes. Fourth brother?" Jason straightened like a schoolboy. My eyes flew to Daniel. This was my first time seeing him in a tailored suit, elegant yet distant as winter moonlight, making me feel grubbier by contrast. I looked away, heart constricting. "You and your wife seem close," Daniel remarked evenly. My fists clenched under the tablecloth. Jason grinned. "Who wouldn't adore such beauty?" His arms snaked around my waist. Daniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You're fortunate indeed." I bit my lip until copper flooded my mouth. The silverware blurred. My heart felt as if an electric current had surged through it, aching with a dull, swollen pain. Jason appeared slightly taken aback, his brows furrowing. Daniel added, "We San Franciscans have a saying, happy wife, happy life." "Jason, don't squander your blessings." His gaze drifted past me to settle on Jason's face. Jason smiled and nodded. "Noted, Dan." "But Daniel, how come your English has become so fluent these past few days?" "Mrs. Johnson chuckled warmly. Our Daniel's full of surprises tonight." Yet my heart churned with indescribable turmoil. Every word from Daniel seemed to emphasize Jason's duty to treat me well. Little did he know Jason's heart already belonged to another. Our marriage was but an icy facade, destined never to thaw. After the dinner, Daniel prepared to leave for the airport. Jason took my hand as we walked him out. The New York winter bit through my shawl, leaving me trembling despite standing close to Jason. 2 consecutive sneezes escaped me, yet Jason remained oblivious. Daniel suddenly halted ahead. Turning, his gaze lingered on me for half a heartbeat before addressing Jason. "It's freezing. You should head back." When Jason protested, Daniel's calm tone held finality. "Really? Go inside." We watched Daniel stride toward the waiting car, snow dusting his black cashmere coat. His lean frame stood tall and unyielding like bamboo enduring winter storms. Before entering the vehicle, he glanced back one last time, through swirling snowflakes. His handsome face remained impassive. The scarlet thread around his wrist burned against the monochrome world, making my chest constrict. I didn't know if he looked at me. The car door closed. Beside me, Jason exhaled softly. "Let's go in." My eyes followed the disappearing taillights. This clandestine chapter between Daniel and me was being buried beneath the snowstorm. After tonight, we'd likely never meet again. Back in our suite, Jason unexpectedly lingered as I removed my jewelry. His hands settled on my shoulders. "You looked beautiful tonight, Emmy." I continued unfastening earrings without responding. He leaned closer, breath warming my ear. "Emmy, didn't you want a child?" Bitter amusement rose in my throat. Even his pretense of affection came so cheaply. Before I could speak, his phone rang. Lillian's caller ID flashed. He took the balcony call. When he returned, I'd already prepared his coat. "You're not asking me to stay?" he asked darkly. I handed him the garment. "You should go. She's crying hysterically." Jason snatched the coat and slammed the door. Downstairs, Mrs. Johnson's furious whispers carried through the halls. Unable to chastise her precious son, she'd inevitably find new faults to berate me with come morning. That very night, I developed a high fever. The illness dragged on for a week. During this time, Jason only returned home once, staying barely half an hour before leaving again. His cold indifference left me strangely unaffected, yet an inexplicable melancholy slowed my recovery. When sunlight finally broke through the snow clouds, I gathered enough strength for a walk. My feet carried me unconsciously to the rear garden. The gate of the cottage where Daniel had stayed stood slightly ajar. Faint sweeping sounds drifting through. I stood motionless outside until the door swung open, revealing the young attendant who'd served Daniel. "Miss Smith." He bowed respectfully. "Mr. Cooper left this for you." The small lacquered box he offered felt light in my palms. Inside lay a familiar bank card and folded stationery. I recognized the card instantly, the one I'd slipped under Daniel's pillow that final night, containing my entire savings of $1 million. The note bore 2 brief lines. "Emily. Call if needed. I'll come to New York for you." Beneath his signature gleamed a phone number. Tears splattered the paper before I realized I was crying. During Mrs. Johnson Sr.'s terminal illness. The entire Johnson family gathered at her hospital bedside. When the matriarch rallied briefly, requesting fresh fish broth, I suddenly vomited in the sterile room. Doctors confirmed my pregnancy moments later. The dying woman immediately bequeathed her shares to Jason and the unborn heir. Mrs. Johnson, shedding years of frostiness, clung to my hand while the room erupted in celebration. Only Jason reacted violently, knocking over a water glass. His mother hurriedly ordered him to escort me to a private suite. The door barely closed before Jason slammed me against it, fingers digging into my throat. "Who touched you?" he snarled, eyes bloodshot with rage. I remained eerily calm. "Make more noise. Let them revoke the shares. Expose this sordid affair to all Manhattan. See who truly loses face." As I predicted, his grip slackened, pushing his wrist away. I massaged my bruised neck. "You told me to handle conception myself. Remember?" "Emily." Jason stared as though confronting a stranger. The docile puppet wife he'd known now shocked him beyond fury. Beneath his outrage simmered something far more dangerous: jealousy and bitter resentment. The man who had nurtured Emily into such radiant beauty, who was he? She was supposed to be Jason's wife. The child in her womb should rightfully be his. Yet at this crucial moment, Jason's phone rang insistently. Lillian's name flashed on the screen. When he answered, I caught the faint sound of sobs. "Jason." Her trembling voice carried through. "I think I'm pregnant." Fate could be cruelly ironic. Lillian, long deemed unworthy by the Johnson family due to her questionable background and supposed infertility, now miraculously carried new life. She leveraged both her pregnancy and her own life as bargaining chips, demanding Jason divorce me to legitimize their child. After years of entanglement, this unexpected heir gave Jason the leverage to defy his parents' objections. Naturally, he acquiesced. Had Lillian conceived earlier, everything might have unfolded differently. Jason would have gladly granted them marital legitimacy through amicable divorce proceedings. I'd have avoided drowning in $50 million debts. Most importantly, Daniel would never have been dragged into this mess. I agreed to sign the divorce papers, relinquishing all claims to assets while being released from repaying the astronomical bride price. Jason's sole condition? Terminating my pregnancy. Truthfully, I'd planned this regardless. Having endured childhood neglect myself, I refused to subject my child to similar anguish. Moreover, severing ties with the Johnson family meant stripping my child of their protective status. I couldn't risk future complications endangering Daniel. This disaster stemmed from my own reckless actions. He shouldn't suffer collateral damage. The Johnson matriarch passed peacefully in her sleep the following dawn. Amid funeral preparations, Jason and I finalized our divorce. His pen hovered over the documents, stormy emotions swirling in his eyes. "Emily," he ground out. "Who is he?" Meeting his gaze calmly, I replied, "That's irrelevant. You love him, don't you?" I paused, then smiled faintly. "That's none of your concern. How could I claim affection after exploiting such an honorable man with my disgraceful schemes? Until grandmother's shares and estate are settled." I continued. I'll maintain appearances regarding our separation. I'll be staying at the Johnson guest house temporarily. His bitter laugh echoed through the study. You never cared about being my wife. Did you? My hand tightened on the suitcase handle. When I married you, Jason, I truly envisioned building a life together. His voice turned acidic. But my involvement with Lillian never bothered you. I studied the Persian rug. Silent. What bride doesn't dream of marital harmony? I'd nurtured those naive hopes too. Until reality sobered me. Goodbye. I walked away, sensing his stare burning into my retreating figure. I didn't look back. At the guest house, I immediately scheduled termination procedures, yet when confirmation day arrived, the hospital abruptly canceled without explanation. Repeated calls yielded only evasive responses before disconnection.At first I didn't pay much attention, but when the same situation repeated itself a second and third time, I realized someone must be manipulating things behind the scenes. Yet it never occurred to me that Daniel could be involved, until the day I went to the hospital myself to schedule the procedure. The administrator arrived with beads of sweat on his forehead. Miss Smith, it's not that we refused, we simply can't. Can't? My fingers tightened around the chair arm. This is my body. My choice. No one else gets to decide. I settled stubbornly into the waiting room chair, the vinyl squeaking under me. Each passing day made the decision more agonizing. The phantom flutter of tiny limbs haunted my dreams. What if I felt that first kick, saw the ultrasound images? Could I still go through with it? They led me to a private suite as dusk painted the walls amber. Through partially open blinds, I watched luxury vehicles swarm the parking lot like black beetles. My breath caught when Daniel emerged from the lead car, the same man I'd pitted as some poor relation of the Johnsons, the same man I'd paid 6 figures for discreet genetic material. His oxblood loafers clicked across marble as our elevators aligned. Coral prayer beads glinted at his wrist when he grasped mine. Emily, the scent of sandalwood and deceit enveloped me. Security cameras blinked red above the empty corridor. What exactly is there to discuss, Mr. Cooper? My voice echoed coldly off sterile walls. His grip tightened, no longer the fragile artist I'd commissioned, but a predator cornering its prey. Daniel stared at me for several seconds. When he finally spoke, I never expected his first words to be an apology. I wasn't thoughtful enough back then, Emily. He used my full name with deliberate gravity. When I left the Johnson family estate for Hong Kong, I should have taken you with me instead of leaving you behind. Taken me? I recoiled, wrenching my wrist from his grasp. As what? The poor relation crashing in the Johnsons' guest house? Or the untouchable Mr. Cooper with his newfound status I can't even comprehend? I stepped back, the cold marble counter digging into my spine. Our transaction ended the night I gave you $1 million. What I do now is none of your business. But, Emily, his voice cracked. You came to me sobbing about needing a child to escape that marriage, begging me to save you. Not anymore. I stared at the geometric pattern of his silk tie, blinking rapidly. The divorce papers in my desk drawer seemed to burn through the wood. I got what I wanted. This embryo, my throat constricted around the clinical term. It's unnecessary now. And it would only complicate your life. Complicate? Daniel barked out a humorless laugh. That's my flesh and blood you're talking about. A human life. It's barely more than cells. The dam broke, tears streamed down my face. Hot and shameful. Ending it now, it's not like losing an actual child. His hands came up as if to wipe my tears, then clenched into fists at his sides. First you discard me. Now my child? Christ. Emily, you could teach me Dia about cruelty. Because this was always transactional. I shouted, the pent-up bitterness of 2 years spilling over. You think I'd spread my legs for any man offering a quick fix? That Daniel would knock up some random gold digger? He crowded me against the refrigerator, calloused thumb forcing my chin up. You really believe I came to the Johnsons for medical treatment? That any woman's tears could get her into my bed? That anyone else could have touched my mother's coral beads? The antique necklace at my throat suddenly burned. His palm flattened over my racing heartbeat. That first night when I kissed you, didn't you feel it? His voice dropped to a raw whisper. The way my hands shook. How I kept asking if you were sure. Memories flooded me, the reclusive air emerging from his wing to find me crying in the koi pond courtyard. The monogrammed handkerchief pressed into my palm. The humidifier I'd bought for his chronic cough, perpetually steaming on his desk. Midnight walks where he'd wordlessly button my coat against the winter chill. His final confrontation with Jason, shielding me with his body like human armor. All the signs I'd deliberately ignored because believing felt dangerous. Because the Emily who'd schemed her way into high society through pregnancy couldn't fathom being truly cherished. Go home. Daniel's thumb brushed away a tear, lingering at the corner of my mouth. Rest. Let me handle everything. When he reached for my hand, I stood rooted. Why? You don't believe in love at first sight either. His lips quirked in that rare, devastating smile. No. But I believe in recognizing my other half across a crowded room. His fingers interlaced with mine, wedding band warm against my skin, even when she's wearing another man's ring. He stood beneath the corridor's lamplight, angular features carved by shifting shadows. Avoiding my gaze, he adjusted the coral beads around his wrist. After prolonged silence came his measured words, "My constitution's always been frail. The elders worry endlessly about succession issues." His fingers brushed mine as he pressed the prayer beads into my palm. I had these blessed at the temple during my Hong Kong trip. They'll protect you and the child. The vermilion strands pooled like congealed blood between his elegant fingers, while relief washed over me. Bitter tendrils of realization coiled beneath. This gesture wasn't for me, but the life growing inside. Daniel fastened the bracelet around my wrist. Come home with me first. Exhaustion weighted my bones. With his influence spanning Beijing's medical institutions, resistance proved futile. Even absent from the capital, no hospital dared defy the Cooper family's wishes. Now, with Daniel physically present, any rebellion evaporated before conception. Descending to the car, his grip never slackened. Only when seated did I attempt withdrawal. Yet his fingers remained interlaced with mine. Emily, return to Hong Kong with me. Do what? My laugh held jagged edges. Play mistress like those concubines from last century? The Johnsons already scorn me. Daniel's circle? The memory of Jason's deferential fourth brother address now revealed its true nature, not courtesy, but fear. The Cooper lineage tolerated no such disgrace. Would you actually marry me? My smile didn't reach eyes studying his profile. If you wished. Enough. I severed his sentence. I want no part of love or matrimony now. Just freedom. The irony choked me. I couldn't even control my own body's destiny. Yet this predicament stemmed from my own choices. I'd courted Daniel's attention, now reaped the consequences. My true fear lingered. If forced to carry this pregnancy, Daniel would claim the child for the Cooper dynasty. After 9 months of shared existence, could I surrender what grew beneath my heart? Daniel escorted me to the Johnson family's villa for belongings, then to his Beijing residence. The compound's restrained opulence revealed itself through moon gates and scholars' courtyards. His private study arrested attention, an antique desk bearing inkstones and half-copied sutras, juxtaposed absurdly with the rubber duck humidifier I'd gifted months prior. That childish thing? I blurted, staring at the yellow novelty disrupting the scholarly sanctum. Beijing's arid climate disagrees with me. Daniel shrugged, surrendering his coat to staff. Before further inquiry, servants ushered me toward the master suite rather than guest quarters. The implication tightened my throat. Our history of entanglement required no pretense of separate chambers. Now that I was carrying his child, there seemed little point in being prudish. I went straight to the bathroom. By the time I finished showering, the housekeeper had laid out fresh loungewear. Dressed and heading downstairs for food, I found Daniel still bent over his scripture copying at the desk. Our eyes met as I finished my chicken broth. The moment sparked memory of that courtyard at the Johnson estate, the daybed behind his desk where I'd pinned this pale scholar against silk cushions. His scholar's hands with their callous ridges from endless brushwork looked delicate, yet proved shockingly strong when gripping my thighs. Heat flooded my abdomen. I looked away. But Daniel was already rounding the desk. "I'll retire early," my words died as his fingers tilted my chin upward. His palm covered my widened eyes when his lips claimed mine. "Emily." His mouth moved against mine. Insistent. Open. The overheated room soon had us both slick with sweat. My trembling fingers scrabbled at his shoulder blades before falling limp against the bedsheets. Beneath his buttoned shirts had lean muscle tracing his spine. That maddening V-line disappearing beneath sleep pants. In fleeting lucidity before drowning again. I wondered they'd said Daniel's health was too frail for heirs. The man currently nipping my collarbone seemed anything but infirm. "Daniel, you said, your condition." He chuckled against my throat. "Emmy. Darling. Have mercy." "Mercy? I'm the pregnant one here." His wandering hands stilled. When they resumed moving, it was to lift my ankle onto his shoulder. "Men newly starved," he murmured, teeth grazing my knee. "Take time to regain restraint. You've never." Doctor's orders. Celibacy preserves vital energy. His breath hitched as I bit his earlobe. "Until now. This could kill you." "Balance," he corrected, nudging my legs wider, "is essential." His thumb found that spot behind my knee. "Trust me. I'll be." The mattress creaked, thoroughly moderate. That night's moderation left us late breakfasting in bed. Our relationship shifted subtly afterward. Daniel still spent mornings copying scriptures. But now in his wingback chair with me straddling his lap. His right hand guided the brush while his left mapped the curve of my swelling waistline. The scriptures were finally copied, though my handwriting grew increasingly sloppy toward the end. Even the once neat desk now lay in disarray. Sometimes I found myself wondering, this man carried not an ounce of mortal warmth about him. Detached from worldly desires, yet paradoxically capable of committing the vilest acts with that angelic face. "Daniel." I mused aloud. "Does Buddha know this side of you exists? I'm merely a lay disciple. Not ordained. What's there to fear?" Daniel lifted me off the desk. His hands lingering at my waist. "Shall I drive you this afternoon? Those inheritance documents and stock transfers with Jason require my signature." Our shared secrets and entangled interests had forged an uneasy truce between us. 2 days prior, Jason had even promised over the phone to transfer $10 million once everything settled. I hadn't refused. Money couldn't solve all problems. But it certainly smoothed the path toward my emancipation from the Smith family and the new life I intended to build. "The driver can take me. Our divorce isn't public yet." My fingers absently traced the coral beads around my wrist as Daniel's warning echoed, "Don't remove these. No need for complications. Especially since you're still connected to the Johnsons." Daniel remained silent. His gaze fixed on the bracelet. Though I'd promised not to remove it. His displeasure lingered like winter frost. When I departed that afternoon, he stayed sequestered in his study. Yet as the car passed through the gates, I glimpsed his lean silhouette standing watch on the courtyard steps. Eyes following my departure until the vehicle disappeared from view. A smile tugged at my lips. Perhaps overthinking caused most life's troubles. With the future so uncertain, why not savor the present? These stolen moments with Daniel brought unexpected joy, though I knew better than to covet what wasn't mine. A man of his stature belonged among the constellations, not clutched against some mortal's chest. The bulky winter coat concealed everything until I removed it in Jason's office. His eyes immediately dropped to my slightly rounded abdomen. He waited until the lawyers departed before speaking. "Emily," his voice cracked as he gestured weakly. "Haven't you? The father's family has health concerns, 5 generations of single heirs. They begged me to keep it." I smoothed my blouse, meeting his hollow gaze. "I'll be relocating to Hong Kong soon. No complications for you and Lillian, or the child you'll eventually have." Jason's laughter held bitter edges as he collapsed onto the sofa. "Lillian lost the baby. We're keeping it quiet, the family doesn't know." His hands trembled covering his face. The doctors say future pregnancies would be nearly impossible. Some cosmic justice. Isn't it? His words dissolved into fractured accounts of Lillian's unraveling, midnight hysterics. Unreasonable demands. His exhausted promises of marriage thwarted by legal technicalities. If she continues like this, Jason concluded with deadened resolve, we're through. The winter sunlight slanted across his wedding band as he spoke, the gold catching fire against skin gone ashen from sleepless nights. I found no satisfaction in his suffering, only the quiet certainty that my child would never know this gilded world of crumbling facades and poisoned legacies. I was taken aback, but upon reflection, realized this was exactly the kind of thing Jason would do. In their social circles, Jason's long-standing relationship with Lillian was considered remarkably devoted. Rumor had it he'd never been with another woman all these years. I should be going. Jason. Whatever's between you two doesn't concern me. Emily. His gaze locked onto me. If Lillian had called that day and you'd asked me to stay, if we... There are no what-ifs. Jason. I calmly interrupted. Lillian exists in our marriage like an immutable fact. Our ending was written from the start. You're quite taken with that man, aren't you? Jason's eyes lingered on my wrist before dropping to my abdomen. Emily. Did you know? At the hospital by Grandma's bedside, when I found out about the pregnancy, his laugh held bitter self-mockery. I wanted to kill you both that instant. Had that bastard been there, I might have actually stabbed him. Later I realized, what right did I have to rage? This is my just desserts. His voice softened with sincerity. Marrying me brought you nothing but pain. Yet here you are helping me. I don't deserve this kindness. Don't dwell on it. You're giving me 10 million, aren't you? I forced lightness into my tone. That's life-changing money for me. Truly. My phone buzzed with Daniel's call. Rising. I declined the call. My driver's here. Goodbye. Jason. Only when exiting the room did I answer. Daniel's velvet baritone vibrated through the receiver. Emmy. Why the delay? The elevator's waiting. You came yourself? Am I some dirty secret? His mock offense made me chuckle. Pressing the elevator button, I turned and froze. Jason stood watching from the shadows. Our eyes met as the doors slid shut, his figure dissolving like smoke. The lobby's glass doors revealed Daniel's obscenely expensive sports car. Hurrying down the steps, I heard the car door slam. Daniel emerged in charcoal Tom Ford, every inch the unapproachable tycoon until his long strides brought him to me. Emily, you're carrying precious cargo yet bounced downstairs like. Relax. Last checkup showed our little heir thriving. I met his storm cloud gaze. My ticket to high society. Remember? I'll be careful. Why not society earning honor through its mother? His sudden intensity startled me. Before I could deflect, strong arms pulled me against his bespoke suit. The Coopers insist their bloodline be properly recognized. We'll file marriage papers upon returning to Hong Kong. I focused on the intricate embroidery of his lapel, vision blurring. I refuse. There'll be a proposal first. Engagement ceremony. Proper wedding. Every tradition observed. Is this about the baby? My trembling hands pushed at his chest. Daniel tightened his embrace, lips brushing my forehead. This is about Emily. The day before our Hong Kong departure, 10 million appeared in my account. Jason's final call echoed in memory. That day at the courthouse, I noticed the coral bracelet. That was the item Daniel had carried with him since childhood. Of course I recognized it. Jason, now that I think about it, all those things Daniel said when he returned to Hong Kong carried hidden meanings. Emily, you're a good woman. You deserve Daniel. After Jason hung up, I noticed the bank notification showing a balance of $111 million. The card originally belonged to Daniel. I'd given it to him long ago. But he returned it. I'd always assumed only my initial $100,000 remained. On the flight back to Hong Kong, I nestled against Daniel's chest. Half asleep. I murmured, "Why give me so much money? To protect you from hardship. With this, you'll never want for anything. Why leave your number? Were you so sure I'd call? I hoped you would, yet prayed you wouldn't." His fingers brushed through my hair. I longed to rescue you, yet dreaded what that desperation might mean. "Daniel," I buried my face in his sweater, breathing in his sandalwood scent that always calmed me. Gradually, I drifted asleep in his arms. He adjusted the blanket, never releasing his hold. Daniel never believed in love at first sight until meeting 16-year-old Emily at summer camp. Their second encounter made him vow to marry her. Yet she'd forgotten him entirely. Years earlier, he'd overheard the giggling teen confessing to her best friend about her crush. His heart soared until his parents abruptly relocated him to Hong Kong. When he finally returned months later, he found her cheering for some basketball-playing upperclassmen. He left after 3 furious days, severing all ties. Their next meeting came at her wedding to Jason. The vibrant girl had vanished, her eyes clouded, smile extinguished. Johnson family staff whispered that Jason had spent their wedding night and past 2 years at a Peninsula hotel suite with his college sweetheart. Daniel extended his Beijing business trip, torn between fury and concern. When he found Emily weeping in the garden, he emerged from the shadows only to hear a shocking proposal. How could he refuse the girl who'd owned his heart since adolescence? He loathed himself for acquiescing, yet now reveled in having her warm weight against him, their child growing within her. As the flight attendant approached with lunch, Daniel pressed a kiss to his wife's forehead. "She's resting," he whispered. "Please don't disturb us until she wakes." The stewardess glanced enviously at the sleeping woman, features relaxed in contented slumber, then at the aristocratic man cradling her. His gaze never left Emily's face, one hand resting protectively over her abdomen. On her slender fingers rested a simple wedding band. Around her wrist gleamed only a strand of breathtaking coral beads. Against her fair skin, those beads achieved absolute perfection. Perhaps decades later, flight attendants would still recall that blissful newlywed couple. Years afterward, Daniel and Emily welcomed a son and daughter into their lives, their devotion to each other undimmed by time. You see, the moon can indeed be captured when a man encounters the one who makes him willingly descend. Though separated by continents, he'll journey countless miles to reach her side and sink into her embrace. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more exciting stories. And drop your thoughts on this one in the comments. See you next time.